Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Weekly Games Chat. I am your host, Chris. As always, joined
You're your host. What?
I'm the host. As always, joined by my co-host, Sean.
There it is. How you doing, people?
And John.
Yeah.
John has had his dreams fulfilled.
Yeah. Turns out. So we decided to get a little snack before the show today.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to be a little different today. Normally, we like to grab some food with each other like afterwards. Chris has kind of got plans, and so John and I are like, well, we're hungry. Let's get snacks.
Are we still hungry?
No, I don't know. We could be still hungry. We went to the store, and we're perusing through the things, and I was going to get some chippies.
Is that what you called them?
Yeah, I did. I did it real loud like that, and he liked that. But then we run across a bag of lemon cookies, bite size, by this dude named Bud. They're Bud's lemon cookies.
Bud's lemon cookies.
Bud's.
And you may know Bud, especially you may know Bud's lemon cookies. John did not know, because I say, dude, if I get this, I'm eating the entire bag. And John's like, what? Let me see these.
And this is from the man that takes down 2 scrambled dogs.
Yeah.
Will
not your ordinary scrambled dog.
We'll go to Jason's and easily devour a bowl of pasta with cheesecake and then consider ice cream. He'll at least consider it. I'll consider it. Yeah. John is, I don't know, you should be as big as I am. I don't know how you don't do it. I imagine it's because your wife is very strict on you.
He's tall.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
But
evenly.
John, when I go to, back when I used to eat a lot more fast food, we would just go and I would start to eat my meal, and John's got the same meal as me, and I look over and it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone. Well, he doesn't mess around either. John will listen. So you get confused when you eat with you out, because I'm talking.
What?
Chris, we'll be having conversations. We're looking at you and stuff, and you're nodding, but you don't speak a lot because you're literally eating. So, but I still find myself going, where did his food go?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
He's one extreme, Tony's my other. Tony's the slowest eater
Tony
ever.
Eats like
like Tony from Geek Versus.
Yeah, he'll gladly have
he needs to order first and get his as an appetizer.
But he always gets it last.
Right.
That's the joke.
And
he always
he's the
gets
slowest
his meal
eater
last.
who gets his meal last. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
And that's a pain when you got to get back for a meeting, right?
No.
It
Especially, unless your boss is with you. Which I've had that
a lot
before.
of times has happened, yeah.
So yeah,
saw some important movies this week.
Did you get to see anything this weekend?
I didn't. You guys, you saw it. I didn't.
You didn't see Jumanji? I saw Jumanji today.
He saw
you like
Jumanji
it?
at work.
I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a dumb film.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And it's basically like The Breakfast Club in a video game. But
Where did you see that?
we may have done it for our.
No. I mean, I've never heard that comparison with that movie.
Well, I mean,
Did
it's
you
the
make
same.
that up?
No, I mean, Power Rangers is the same way.
It's Breakfast Club for Power Rangers.
Think about it. You have a jock. You have a geek.
So you're saying
you
the
have
structure
a popular,
I got you.
Yeah, and then they're all different, but they have to come together to solve something.
This stuff burns my tongue.
That's because you just ate a gallon of cookies, dude.
That's
But
true.
I gotta say, it definitely pulls out the video game tropes pretty well.
Yeah, and I was, when I saw it, I was like, man, this is a really good video game movie.
Yeah, which, I mean, that's not the highest hurdle to clear, but
No.
it does a very good job. For if you told me when that movie, and when I saw it the first time in the trailer, I was like, that will probably be garbage. But, it helps when you have Kevin Hart and The Rock, who, when you say, just play this stereotype, they can do it to a T.
Have you guys, you probably don't, but do you follow Kevin Hart or The Rock on Instagram by chance?
Mm-mm.
So I do, and they've been trolling each other with making each other look like babies, and they're holding the baby.
That's funny.
It's the greatest thing ever. I think there's going to be a Jumanji 2 that comes out very soon too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think Kevin Hart kind of teased that on a recent Instagram post. So yeah, you guys also saw another movie.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
You guys need to skirt around this one a little bit.
It was
You had your chance.
No, this is not spoiler territory yet. Unlike today's.
Spoilers!
No.
Hey, it went off, so.
No.
I gotta say, you know how me and you are usually about the Marvel movies, lately.
Mm-hmm.
I was the exact opposite for Black Panther, and I was kind of more of the same with this. It's not a bad movie. I actually think what they did with Thanos, as far as making him a character, was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But when I walked out, I wasn't like, I need to see this again or anything.
Really? You're not going to see it again?
I mean, I will eventually. When it comes on Netflix, I'm sure I'll watch it. I don't know.
that noise.
Or right, especially
Dude,
right before.
I've seen it twice already.
Did you go again?
Yeah,
You,
on Sunday.
you son of a
I just went on Sunday.
you mother.
I just
Should have called you.
there were things I like about it.
Who'd you go with?
Me,
You went by yourself
of course.
with a guy who's gone 0 times waiting to hear from you.
I didn't know you hadn't seen it. I thought you were all over that one.
No, we had.
It was a last minute decision,
I like it though. I support your decision.
and I'm not afraid
You
to go to a
didn't give
movie
me
by
a call.
myself.
That is true. Same here.
You just go to movies by yourself?
Oh yeah.
This is
I live by myself.
People always ask me.
Penny can't go to the theater.
People always say you went by yourself, as if I'm some sort of pariah.
well, we like you. It has nothing to do with pariahs and stuff. Pariah.
I mean,
Why
don't
do we-
I like both things because it is nice.
Do
to
you?
Go and, I like to go watch by myself because then you can walk out, think about it, reflect. But I also like we have a tradition kind of with the more geeky movies. Usually, like it's myself,
Tony Casey.
and our buddy Aaron. And like we stand out there for a good hour.
Yeah.
John's been there before.
Yeah,
He's
I've been
done-
out there
yeah.
before in the nerd
It's
circle,
torture.
and it's
That's
fun.
right. Yeah, and it's fun to
it's
like
torture.
Yeah. Well, it's just because there's so much sarcasm. And
Some
it's
folks-
like if you slip up on one thing with that group, it's like attack. That and we only do that because we love each other.
That's what you think.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I kind of like, and then after thinking about it, and it's funny because afterwards I've seen like a couple of articles pop up. I have some problems with the way they decided to adapt this from the comics as far as like
Yeah, but they've been setting it up for like 14 movies, dude.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with that. It's more of like the goal of what Thanos is doing.
You actually think that a film audience would take that motivation seriously if they stuck
No.
to the comics?
I'm just saying, like, when I thought about it,
Like how your hand went up.
like, for those who don't know, in the comics, it's like the idea is Thanos wants the gauntlet because he's trying to impress Lady Death.
So he's not trying to rule the world?
No, he basically just like his idea is like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to kill as many people as possible because it will make her happy. That's the
I mean,
motivation.
her name is Lady Death. Dude.
Yeah, she's like literally death. And then this one, I kind of like, the more I thought about it and what they present without spoilers here, I kind of was like, okay, but you're doing this setup and it doesn't quite make sense. If you get it, like logically, like you're like
Not even in the cinematic universe?
no, like from a plot perspective,
Okay.
it didn't make sense because I was like, you're gonna get this thing
But
that's
you
all
like Star
powerful.
Wars. But you like Star
Oh
Wars.
no, yeah,
He's
like
suggesting there's a plot hole. I know what you're saying. I don't
yeah.
agree with you on that.
I mean, like, and it was weird because after the fact, like, I told Tony this, and then, like, right afterwards,
Yeah.
I started seeing people saying the same thing. I'm like, okay, good. At least I'm not alone on this. I was like,
are not
I'm-
alone.
to be fair, that's not the reason I didn't like completely die over the moon. I just think like with a lot of these things, I'm kind of long in the tooth when it comes to Marvel movies.
Dude, you're using a lot of like.
Yeah. I'm
Thanks.
very much like James Cameron, where I'm like, it would be nice if this thing would kind of maybe take a couple of years off and we could like get some
Dude.
different, more original ideas
Chris.
out there.
Disney is going to power hammer.
Oh, I know. With Star Wars and with Marvel, they're going to destroy those things to the ground until.
No, wait a minute.
Not
Hold on.
destroy per se.
Marvel has become one of the most amazing achievements in cinematic history based on what the scope of what it did.
Sure.
And we're complaining that it's like an annual franchise like Assassin's Creed.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, this has been aligned and in the cards. This movie, no spoilers, is
Yeah.
everything it promised it would be.
I agree.
Everything.
It is everything. It's just.
I
don't
can't
know.
wait to see it.
Yeah, it's worth seeing. Don't get me wrong. There's some great. I think like the best parts of the movie are probably the Guardians. Spider-Man's got some good parts in there too.
Did it have a top like visual scene? Think back to the Star Wars where the light
Nothing-
speed like
Nothing to that, but I will say the ending of the movie maybe is kind of a little bit memorable.
Yeah.
Watching what happens with that.
from a visual perspective.
It's just I don't know. I'm one of those people like I like original things. Like I don't get me wrong, I love adaptations too, but there comes a point where you're like, I want to see something that no one has ever thought to put on screen that people maybe aren't overly familiar with coming to it, whereas this feels like it's been played out now. Like I've seen just about every idea that they could have for a superhero movie, and it's kind of made to the point now when you watch like DC ones now, you just feel like they're trying to imitate in a way what Marvel did.
I wish they'd imitate better. Ooh.
Yeah, versus like when we saw the biggest thing I could compare it to is like I watched Batman in the 90s, right?
Oh, I thought you were going to say more.
And those were interesting, and there was this huge break until someone came along and had a cool new fresh perspective of that type of film that no one had thought about and made 3 unique movies.
But that's
Nolan
but it's a completely new story with in a different universe.
Sure. So I'm saying is like I don't know
who
what
in the world could ever play Iron Man ever again.
I don't know. Someone will someday.
Nobody.
Someone will, because Disney won't let it die.
That's fair enough. But Iron Man, Tony Stark.
Yeah.
This isn't like Batman and Superman. You can literally get somebody out of the blue to play these characters. He has done something to a superhero character that nobody has ever done.
I disagree with that, because for a long time it was Christopher Reeve.
Yeah, and Brandon Routh came by and really
imitated. And no one could see him as Christopher Reeves. Like that was the big thing.
Serious?
Like a lot of people said it's not Christopher Reeve. That was a major complaint I heard from people. I mean, I even like that movie to some extent. But you know, I like here, but to me that's still Superman. And for a long time afterwards, Michael Keaton was the same way. People were like, that's Batman. It's not Val Kilmer. It's not George Clooney. Michael Keaton is Batman. It wasn't until Christian Bale showed up. And I would say even now, Ben Affleck has yet to eclipse him in many people's minds as being Batman, even though he's one movie less than him already. So I don't know. It's not that I'm saying like I have a problem with the genre. I love the genre. I love comics, but
do you?
It's one of those things where when you start to see it,
fun fact,
where you're not just getting one of these films every year, you're getting like 3 to 5 of them every year, and they're not that different.
You're not getting
terms.
3 to 5.
I'm talking from the full scope. When you take in Marvel and DC, you can have years. I mean, like, think about it. It's like you're going to have in this before we get to August of this year, you will have had 3 major Marvel movies out. And then there's going to be as long as Ant-Man Wasp comes out in July.
Yeah.
And then there's a Venom movie, which I mean, sure, that's not Marvel Studios, but it's in association with them. You have
and it's gonna
Deadpool. You have, I think, 1 or 2
Deadpool.
You have Deadpool next week. You have like 1 or 2 DC movies coming early next year. You have Captain Marvel coming in the first half, and I think like
Let me ask you this though,
and then you have Infinity War, and then Spider-Man.
Why can this world still make so much money at the box office, but when you have stuff like vampire movies or zombie movies, they have their run, and then people are done with them. That says something. You're right, but it says something that people love superheroes. I don't know.
Sure. I mean, like, it's a huge part of culture.
You didn't say that right.
Huge.
Thank you.
Huge part of culture.
Tighten up, Chris.
I don't know. Like, I'm just saying I'm with James Cameron in the sense like there are other stories you can tell out there. You don't have to just keep doing these things.
Yeah.
And you know, that's always to his credit. That's always been the thing I give a lot of credit to James Cameron.
Says the guy who copied Dances with Wolves and turned it into a CGI blue man group.
What I mean though is he consistently challenges himself to do a different thing.
I'll never let go.
And that's the interesting part with Avatar is this is the first time since Terminator he's came back, and when you look at Terminator versus Terminator 2, those are very, very different movies.
How the hell did we get to Terminator?
James Cameron.
I mean, when did Avatar come out? 2008, 2009?
Yeah.
It's been a decade since he's released a film.
Yeah.
Disney World, they got to do Avatar Land.
And to be fair, everyone doubted him before when he was making that movie. If there's anyone I will say, I'll wait till I see it, it's James Cameron, because he's got a proven track record in my mind. He doesn't make many bad things.
You know, but I think his methodology is hype.
Yeah.
But if you go back, a Terminator movie aside, Terminator series aside, Titanic, one of the most panned movies in history. Avatar is getting
it won Best Picture.
Yeah,
hold on a second.
Hold
on a second. You know what I mean by panned?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean that is a very frequently made fun of film.
Sure, because it's akin to its time.
Because you look back on it and go, was it really that great? I don't
fine.
know. Was it Best Picture?
Yeah, because when you look back at something
My
like,
heart did move on.
I don't know.
It changed film.
I don't know if this movie won any major awards, but when you go back and watch Full Metal Jacket, it's still Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, exactly.
And Titanic is still Titanic.
Yeah, but it's different. I see what John's saying in the sense that it is a little different from maybe the first time you watch it or in that time frame.
It's just people, pop culture references, making fun of that old lady on the boat, or you idiot Kate Winslet. Why did you let him drown? It looked like there was enough room on that door.
Sure.
It was cold.
But at the same time, he also went back and updated the stars correctly because of what Neil deGrasse Tyson said.
God.
Shut your face.
He did.
Is that real?
Yeah. Neil deGrasse, he said, used to give him just hell because he's like, how can you not have the right sky in the stars in the sky? It's like, you like science, do the right thing.
I will rip your hands off,
I will
John.
do it for you. But the Abyss.
Yeah, nobody talks about the Abyss. That's actually one of the. That's one. Come on, seriously. Yeah. Nobody talks about that
Aliens.
Movie. All right.
So he has maybe 4 of the most talked about movies in history, I would say. In between Aliens, Terminator 2, and Avatar, and if you want to throw in Titanic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's impressive for a guy who's only made.
I'm not attacking
10.
the guy. I'm telling you that it's ironic.
Rewind it about 3 minutes ago when you went into attack mode on James Cameron.
You think so?
You did.
Think so?
If you think so, wait till you see John really go after somebody.
You literally were John Madden pulling out the sketch.
God, I wish one of us could do a Madden.
I think Marvel, I think Marvel's doing it right. I think they're
making money.
I don't want them to stop.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah. Everyone said that. I mean, I think most people just don't think of it like what it can do to something very long term. And I would say the exact same thing as Star Wars. Like Star Wars was a thing you got 3 movies of and didn't get a new movie for almost 20 something years. And because of that, people were chomping at the bit. And then you had these other 3 that people were maybe a little bit more mixed on, but you had almost another decade after that without a Star Wars movie. And you're going from that to now where every single year you're getting it once per year. And you go, how long until people go, okay, I've seen that. I'm ready to move on to something else.
Not 10 years.
Yeah, definitely won't be.
But the thing about the plot hole, I'll explain to you later why that's bogus. It's just completely bogus.
I don't know. I just logically, to me, I'm like, if you're going with this setup of what he is, it just didn't make sense.
Well, I'm going to put out the call for
ready to move on.
No, friends. Well, sure, but friends of the show who listen who haven't seen the Avengers, this episode is going to go live tonight. So if you listen to us tonight on what is today, it's not.
Yeah, probably will.
Yeah, you better.
Yeah.
You made a promise.
That's what Facebook said.
I'm going to do it after I get home.
Yeah. So late tonight, which is what's today's date?
I said that. I think it would be late Wednesday.
Today's the 2nd?
Yes.
So on May 2nd, you'll hear our voices, and we're recording on May 2nd, which is...
Though they might not hear this because they might go, it's a spoiler cast. And they might,
yeah. Good point. It is a spoiler cast, Chris.
Clay already told us on there. He's like, I got to skip this because I'm in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Speaking of pivot.
Yeah, a whole pivot table.
No topic time, no nothing this week because
no news, no topic time. We put all of our time into all of us getting this game done to do this for you guys.
I was done last week.
We're a team, Chris.
We say things, time in the platinuming.
We effing say things like we, us, together.
I don't understand it. Bear together.
Oh my God. I literally want to rip your throat out right now.
I know you do. But yes, we all, it's really hard when you have a game, I think, where it's very story driven and everyone here wants to talk about what's going on.
Yeah.
But you can't because 1, people are at different points, and 2, you don't want to ruin an experience that maybe someone wasn't thinking about, but now is thinking about going into and doing, trying out and playing, especially like when it's a 30, 40 hour experience. So we said last week we would just give you an overview of God of War, our thoughts on it. I think we were all pretty high. Maybe we can get the other 2 guys' score.
11 out of 10.
20 out of 10. So, John, you want to go ahead and say your score?
2 out of 10.
Really? It's contrarian John right here.
2-inch Richard.
You're so full of it, dude.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, look, there's the majority. Let me be different.
You don't like this game?
What?
Hold on.
I will be serious right now.
I will stop recording right now and punch him in the gut if he don't like this game. I will go straight.
He wants to go play Donkey Kong.
I like this game.
What would you say it is then?
Oh my God.
Because why don't you say it before we get into spoilers so someone is listening to this?
He just liked it. He doesn't love it.
Yeah.
He just liked it.
Give it a Richard.
Oh my God. It shouldn't be this hard.
Right?
I think it's an easy 9.
That's what she said.
I definitely think it's an easy 9.
That's respectable. You had me going on.
I mean,
crazy
he's still
for no reason.
wrong, but that's good.
No, I have my reasons why it would be. I mean,
okay.
I've got problems with it.
Oh, it was also my birthday this week, guys. Thanks.
And that doesn't matter.
No, because I was going to say, now I can play PlayStation VR games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Because John had a hand in that.
We
Yeah.
can do a VR episode next week.
On what?
Did you hear that,
On
Chris?
VR.
Did you hear
Just
that, Chris?
in general?
I bought him a PlayStation VR.
Did you?
I throw it out there as a joke to my wife.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Your wife. My
Thank you.
bad.
Yo, why?
And,
I'm here to set up.
She ends up going and the lady's giving John a runaround, and so not John. The lady's giving my wife a runaround,
Your wife.
and she just says, "You know what? Let me
Twice,
call John real
John.
quick." So she calls you, and you make it happen. She said she turned around immediately, felt confident, and purchased it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she knew you the second one,
No, I mean, like, which bundle?
the Doom virtual in reality. Yeah, so I don't have the thing. What are they called? The motion.
The
Oh,
Wii Motion Plus.
The Wii Motion. Yeah, the Wii Motion Pluses.
The Move controller.
The Move controllers. What's funny is I could have used my old Move controllers I had for years after they said we're not going to make anything for these things anymore,
Isn't that crazy?
and then they bring the same thing back.
But it came with did those come with them?
No. This one just came with the headset and the game.
Oh, well.
Because that's fine.
I
And the
be
camera.
I would be content with just using the controller.
Well, I think Doom
Certain
is
things
made.
are good
Moss.
for it.
They want you to use a controller too.
Yeah.
They actually show you pulling stuff and doing
As someone who has Oculus with the Rift touches, I could tell you that it's. I mean, why you gotta be like that? Or do you have a problem with competition?
When are they going to come out with games that you play like actual sports in VR?
There are a couple
That'd
things.
be
There's
tight.
there's a thing called the climb you can do, which is really cool.
That
in
Miley
VR.
Cyrus song.
Yep, and that's what's playing the whole entire time. Just like repeat. You're like, I've heard this chorus 18 times.
You're like, I hate this game.
Why did they make it 18 hours?
Oh my god. But yeah, so maybe Chris, that opens up a new door.
Possible.
You've got Oculus. I've got PSVR.
Maybe John can go get Oculus Go. That came out this week.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's supposed to be pretty good. But yeah, pivot back to it.
Yeah.
So yes, we are going to be doing spoiler talk for God of War, the game that came out.
That is
on
this
4/20.
episode.
So if you have not beat the game or you do not wish to be spoiled at this point, this might be one for you to now say, get the out and come back whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm going to ask Sean to do the weekly games chat official spoiler warning. Go, Sean.
Spoilers! Spoilers!
My neighbors are upstairs.
Spoilers!
They're wondering what that was.
Spoilers!
You peaked 18 bars.
Just want to let you guys know it's a spoiler cast.
Okay, so this is your last chance in 10 seconds. We're going to be spoiling this game. So again, get the F out if you want to
Come
not be
back and
spoiled.
listen later though, because you're going to see how much we love this game and all the stuff about it that you may not
Booyah
know.
posted in Booyah Presents Chicken and Wobble. That was a Drizno one.
Nice.
So, God of War.
Yeah.
Not much went on.
Thor.
I know, right? That's
Freaking Thor.
that
right?
was pretty awesome.
So look, if you
Wait,
beat
what?
if
I want to know between you guys,
uh-huh.
what point did you, if any, did you go, he's Loki?
Never.
I got it
look-
when the panels started coming up, and then once it said like, Faye was a giant, I was like, that little. Yeah, this is an explicit podcast now.
Is it really?
I guess so. Because I'm not taking the time to edit this.
F-bombs, baby.
That little effort. That little trickster.
If you could have seen it's looking back on it, it was showing you, it was setting it all up for that. And I felt kind of dumb that I didn't pick up on it. But yeah.
There's those moments where you're like, all that stuff comes into play where he's constantly talking about turning into animals, hearing
That's the first thing he
voices,
says.
hearing voices from animals and things like that. But to be perfectly honest, I never was going that way. And candidly, when they revealed it, I was like, really?
See, I thought at first the Stranger was.
It reminded me of The Dark Knight Rises, where his middle name happens to be Robin. I'm like, okay.
Well, okay. Yeah, there are a couple of hints. Like when he is first told he's a god, the first thing he asks to kind of turn into animals and goes, huh? And it's like, can I be a wolf? And that, for those who know Norse mythology, that's what Loki has a very close kinship with
wolves.
He can talk and have them do things. But
funny when we get attacked by wolves in the game, he doesn't.
Yeah, no,
right. Like he can't like charm them.
And there's a part at the beginning where you actually see a mural when you're fighting Balder for the first time. That if like you go back and you freeze it, you can see it's in that same style with the giants there in the background, like clear as day.
So yeah, the Stranger, like his real name is.
Yeah, I thought that was gonna be Loki, and then when it said Balder, I was like, huh. And then you start to put certain things into place because Loki kills Balder in Norse mythology. That's the big thing that kind of sets Thor and things. And he did have a close relation with the World Serpent, which I can't remember how you say his actual name. He have a close relationship in some parts, as we've seen in Marvel MCU. He is a giant. So there's like all these little things that come together where you're like, okay, they worked this in, but they just did a good job of not making it the focal point of the game. The focal point of the game is the freaking relationship between Kratos and his son and the journey they go on together. So
yeah, and it's so cool because the main story never changes. You want to get these ashes as requested by Mom, who's passed away, to the highest point that you possibly can
in all the realms.
There's a couple of deviations, and you think you get to a high point, and that starts a whole nother mission.
Yeah.
You chop a guy's head off, and you start having more fun.
I'm going to cut your head off now.
I'm kind of mad they didn't show you actually chopping his head off, but I understand why they didn't.
Did you ever take him back up there?
Yeah, you have to.
No, I mean like after the fact, like over to his body.
No.
Yeah, he'll be like, brother, thanks, because I really wanted to see that or something like that.
He's got great dialogue.
Yeah, he comes along at the perfect point in that game because those first 8 hours or so, 8 to 10 hours, it's just Kratos and him, and therefore of course,
but
Kratos
works.
is Kratos. Yeah, and you get to this point of like you've run out of fables for Kratos to butcher. And you've had this kind of mini emotional arc between their relationship as far as Atreus' emotions. And now all of a sudden you meet Miramir and he is able to come in and provide all this context to the world that really, no one else could, because he actually knows these people that they're talking about and knows the history back and forth. So it's nice and refreshing. And then I don't know if you guys were this way. I would never get off the boat if he was in mid-story. I would let him finish every single time.
Yeah, I try my best to.
Great to listen to.
But one time I did get off the boat. He goes, well, I'll finish that in a minute.
Yeah, he'll always come
right. I love that. If Kratos is telling the story, if Miramir, is that how you say his name?
Mimir.
It's going to be Miramir.
Miramir.
Because we also went to Jokerheim. Remember?
Jägermeister.
But yeah, it was really cool how it was in the game to where you would always get the story if you wanted to listen to it.
Yes.
Super cool.
Yo boy, let's go to Jägerbomb.
I felt like Freya was a good intro into the story, and I also knew that she was going to play pretty much an integral role in it. Not only because of the way she kind of is introduced, but there was something about her. Did you guys know when she was talking she was talking about her son that it was going to be
as soon as she I figured she was a god as soon as she showed up.
Did you really?
I was like, there's no way this is just some random witch that's in the woods. I was like, it's gotta be a god. I was like,
did you really? Did you
think
she was a god?
I didn't know who it would be, but I just figured this makes sense.
You find out she's a god.
Because she tells you, she's like, I know you're a god. I'm like, well, how the heck does she know he's a god?
It's a smell.
It makes sense. Yeah.
It's a smell.
Do you think it's a smell? Like a tainty smell? You've got a god's taint smell. And you're like, oh, all right. They go up sniffing each other like dogs.
Kratos just lifts up his leg.
It was fascinating. They never, and this goes to the storytelling. You kind of had to learn to have a little bit of faith that you don't know why something necessarily happened in the story, but you start to figure out that everything seems to be. I can't think of a thing where I have questions about the story.
Sure.
Where Freya took those arrows away from Atreus.
Yeah.
When they showed back up.
And you're like, why did she do that?
I don't understand what.
Yeah.
She never explained why they were so bad.
But then you find out.
But you find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
and it made sense.
So tell them how you found out, John.
Well, Balder,
Balder.
You find out, which, by the way, one of the most epic opening boss fights I've ever seen in a video.
For sure.
It was just epic on every scale.
Kratos was like, I will put you down. And he's like, I got a secret to tell you guys.
Well, you think your opening fight, we're going to get on Balder, but you think your opening fight's that troll that you fight.
Right.
Because you do that and you're like, oh my God, like they want me to really be good. Come to find out, if I would just throw my axe 100 times at the guy.
That's all y'all ever have to do in this game, man.
Well, I like to get hands on and get in there.
Yeah.
That made it a little more challenging. But then you go back to your house and this stranger shows up, right?
Yeah, he starts banging on your door and you have no idea what's going on.
Daniel Faraday from Lost just showed up.
I did not like this character.
Well, he looks like a reject from the cult from Far Cry 5.
Yeah. It's
I did not like him from the jump. Like I didn't like him. I don't know how.
Speak ill of Jeremy Davis one more time.
Whatever he did, though, he did it good because I knew that character was a problem. I wanted to get rid of him. And like John says, you start fighting him.
Yeah, but I like the fact that he shows up and he is immediately from appearances somebody Kratos can stomp into the ground. I mean, you get that impression.
He's not muscular.
Yeah.
However.
But Balder, you find out as you're fighting this guy, you find out that he doesn't have feeling in a physical way, like he can't feel pain. So everything Kratos is throwing at him, he's just bouncing back until the eventual climax. When
you basically have to beat him.
He beats the snot out of Kratos, regardless of how well you perform in the boss fight. He beats the snot out of you.
He didn't beat the snot out of me. I performed it perfectly.
And you, the way the cinematics played out, you get your butt handed to you, and he eventually snaps his neck, and you think he's gone.
Oh. There was no doubt in my mind. I was like, that can't be the end of it.
Well, it didn't feel right. I thought perhaps it was, because while you can't feel pain, it doesn't mean that damage is not inflicted upon your body.
Yeah, but you find out he can't die.
Well, you do find out that.
You didn't know it then?
Yeah. But look, I'm not versed in Norse mythology as much as some people, but because I thought he snapped his neck and threw him down the ravine, therefore that would be a catalyst to
death.
People coming after him.
It's weird because I liked how they kind of snuck in. I think a lot of people, the natural inclination was that the way this story was probably going to go was this thing of like Kratos keeping a secret from his son and getting to a point where when he finally finds out, he's so enraged with Kratos, he wants nothing to do with him, and it sets up maybe future, like where now it's Kratos versus his son or whatever at some point in the future. And really that wasn't the case. It was more of Balder versus his mother, and constantly kind of, I think Freya for the most part trying to warn them that if you smother your kid with love and you don't let them experience pain, or you don't tell them the truth and aren't upfront, they will eventually turn on you.
I don't think smothering Atreus with love was the problem.
Yeah, Kratos had no issue with that. He steered very clear of that.
The whole entire big thing though is he doesn't want to tell him who he is because he doesn't want him to know he's
in a way he's protecting him.
It's a multi-layer.
Yeah,
it's protect Atreus from what he knows he is, and he doesn't want him to be that.
Yeah, exactly.
But also he's ashamed of who he was or is.
Do you think Kratos knew that he was also a god?
Sure.
Oh,
you mean, wait.
Well, because at the end,
you mean when Kratos was born? Did he know?
No, not Kratos.
Okay, talking about his son.
Yeah.
By Greek mythology rules, pretty much if you're in any way related to a god, you are a god.
Yeah.
So
it was just weird that did you think Kratos knew he was a giant like his mom?
No, and he makes that point at the end.
Yeah. I was going to say, because of at the end of the point where there's a big mural that you see at the end, and they're talking about things, and Atreus realizes his mom was a giant, because you have to eventually get to that land. And
I want to see her.
Jotunheim.
Yeah, Jogerheim, dude.
It's like Kratos meets her for the first time, and he goes,
"You're a big one.
You're a big woman."
Maybe he has a.
I'm not intimidated.
Maybe she had a way of controlling her.
He has a
size.
god like Richard, and she had a giant size snitch.
He's like, well, that explains a lot. A lot.
A god like Richard.
I like though, like. I guess the thing that I liked about this game so much from a story perspective,
Apparently not laughing.
I know, yeah. I don't laugh in this game, except for Miramir and Brock and Cinder. There, yeah.
Brock, yeah,
Miramir.
we haven't even touched on them yet.
Yeah, but from a story perspective, I really enjoyed like it kept feeling like everything was always evolving, and it felt natural.
Yeah,
how it evolved.
Yeah.
To a point where even though there's a lot of backtracking in the game, kind of like in a Metroidvania type way, you get new abilities, go to re-explore. You never really felt bad that you were going through the same thing because there was always a different context going on around it. So, in there, I love like how, for instance, in the early game, Atreus is kind of like bubbly and joyful.
Yeah.
And wanting to explore this world because he's excited. He's finally getting to go on an adventure in a way with his dad. But then once they get through the Alfenheim and Kratos goes into that light and he feels abandoned, he quickly turns into like a D for a couple of hours there in terms of him because he thinks that Kratos doesn't love him and just wants to abandon him.
That was a big part in the game.
Yeah.
For me, that was a turning point for sure. Like you say, because Kratos goes into this light that is it's one of those things kind of like you go into it and time moves way slower than the outside of the light. And when he comes back out, Atreus is like killed
50 bodies.
He's killed all these things and like he's like, you left me. And that was the first time you see him kind of get rageful-ish.
Yeah, and you get that first context of like, look, Kratos, even though he's been living as a mortal here, he hasn't been very close. Mm-hmm. He's kept a separation and making sure he does what he thinks is right, which is provide for his family. But he's not. It's been the mom who's always been there for him. And now for the first time, he feels really alone. And you go through this period of like where he is goading you on because he just doesn't think you care about her. You don't care about him. And when he finally stops and like he says something along the lines of do not take my silence as a lack of grieving or something like that. I can't remember what it was.
Something close to that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like that hits and you can see it hit him and change him instantly to get like he gets finally, he misses her just as much as I miss her. He's just handling it in a very different way than I. And then on the other side, Kratos grows too because I think at first he kind of just wants to start out as this mentor teacher to the boy to make sure he can survive. But it's by the end that he understands he needs to explain to him who he is and how they can both aspire to be something more than Kratos has been and what all these other gods have been.
They get to that point where he actually discloses what Atreus is because of something that kind of happens to Atreus, right?
He gets sick.
They hint that he had been sick before. Mm-hmm. And you're like, what could he possibly be sick from, right?
Sure.
From a story perspective, they don't give you a lot. Then you kind of go on in the game and then the dude gets like really sick, right? And for me, that set up I think it was the most epic part of the game.
Really?
Because you eventually, you get some things.
Yeah. Oh, God. When he goes to get those freaking blades.
Ladies and gentlemen.
That is one of the best
ladies and gentlemen
scenes.
I skipped that part.
Atreus gets sick.
Well, that explains why you gave it a 9.
Sick to a point where he can't go on. Kratos talks to Freya and she's like, you got to go to this place. It's basically hell.
It is hell.
And in hell, you can't use this axe you've been using that you've got to beast mode point at this point in the story. And you're like, what do you, this is how I'm thinking in my mind. Well,
you have to use something not of this world.
And I was like, well,
not of the realm.
I was like, what does that mean? Oh my God. Oh my. And even though our good friend and co-host of the show, John, decided to go look at the trophy list.
Yeah. And then I showed up to the podcast early one day and I saw them on Kratos' back. Well,
John looked at the trophy list, which that's a hidden trophy.
Yes, it is.
And then one day last week he walked in and Chris had him on his back, but then we had lunch and John was like, "Yeah, you can play it." So I knew you were going to get him, but
it doesn't ruin it though, did it?
No.
Nope. That scene, like when he's just standing there, and it's kind of like almost like Clint Eastwood, where he's just wrapping the chain around his wrist, and you're like, Oh, someone killed John Wick's dog. You about to all get
That's all.
up.
And the game knows you feel that way. The dev team immediately sets up. You walk out your door and there's a 400-person army almost out there. You can just unleash.
All joggers.
You just unleash the blades, and you're like, this
chaos?
feels amazing. Like, did you not feel that when you played it?
Yeah, and nothing but credit to the new weapon, the axe that they created for this game. But those blades of chaos, they're just
BA.
better. They're just better.
I don't
operate better.
I disagree with that. I actually like the axe
I
more.
love the blades, but the axe grew on me.
The axe is more appropriate for the world. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But as far as combat,
I
Again, I
can't
disagree.
That's a tough one for me.
Yeah. They're both amazing.
I will tell you this: when I found out, and I don't know, I guess I was half dumb playing, but when I was like, "Wait a minute, I get the axe and the blades,"
I can switch.
I was like, "I'm unstoppable."
Well, you can tell it's these moments where he's floating home and he's like, I promised myself I'd never go back to this life.
Okay.
He's got to embrace this life again in order to save his son. He has this he's seeing Athena in the boat. He's like, he's being haunted by Athena all the way home.
When you saw Athena's face?
Yeah, that was messed up. It freaked me out a little bit.
No, but then you went, that's Athena.
Yeah. Then you wrap the blades and you get them on your wrists and she's looking at you from the doorway of the cabin and she's talking about what a monster you are, this and that.
Always be a monster.
And Kratos says, you are right. I am a monster, but I'm no longer your monster.
Correct.
Which was a really great moment. We talked
Amazing
about having a podcast where we talk about greatest moments in video games. This could be on my list at some point. I don't know where it would be, but this is one of those moments where
You don't think so?
Well, no, like that's to their credit. That's just one of many in this game.
And you're right. And that moment didn't start just when he unwrapped the blades and put them on. It starts when basically they go to a cinematic approach of you having to walk out the house to this boat that she's got waiting for you, and then it gets
so dark. Like
everything just gets so you just know what's coming. Like even if you didn't have it halfway ruined, by your friend and all that. Or you didn't see it on the internet, or you didn't walk into a friend's
I didn't
house,
know anything,
and you're like, "Oh my god!" Everything just built up. It's darkness building up. You can just he's mad. And like you said, that might be one of the best moments in recent memory from a video game. Mm-hmm. And Chris, you said that's not the only one.
Well, like that was the thing that was impressive was just how many great moments there were in this game. When that freaking dragon comes crashing through the mountain when you're going up it, and like the first time you're going up, and you have the battle with the dragon. And they're like, "Are we doing this?" They're like, "Yeah, we're doing this." That is an epic moment.
To me, I felt like that entire sequence in the mountain. I felt like I was replaying the Mines of Moria in my. I felt like I was Gandalf leading his company.
Go back to the shadows of which you came.
Somebody say you
shall. Sorry,
that whole sequence was like, "Geez, how big is this mountain?"
Pretty freaking big.
The mountain was huge, but. Think about when you got to go and do a side quest, just going through the mines, right? It wasn't near the mountain. It was just a side quest for old Brock. Mm-hmm. They set up, this game is so rich with moments that you're just so unexpectedly kind of running across. Mm-hmm. There's a trophy for getting dragons, right? Yeah. Going and finding in each little area. I've only got 2 dragons.
There's 3. There's 3 total.
I don't know where the third is yet, but
I could tell you.
You walk into this area and you see this dragon, right, for this first time. It has nothing to do with the main story. Like you said, in the main story, you do fight it. There's a dragon thing that happens.
Yeah, that's the one.
But the one that I found was nowhere near that yet.
Nope.
And I walk in and I'm like, there's a dragon. And it's not just sitting there. The dragon's tied up and he's mad and he's going to shoot you with fire too because he sees you.
And you got to figure out puzzles. Moment.
You're like, there's a dragon.
Well, in the dragon where there's an actual boss fight, where you get to the top of that mountain.
Yeah.
I think it's funny. Atreus says, "You ever killed something that big?" And I was like, that's cute. That's cute.
You Norse.
You have no idea.
Yeah, you Norse kids.
Another moment for me that was when he was in Helheim and Zeus's face popped up.
Oh God, yeah, the first time.
And you're like, what? Like I was thinking, is Zeus going to be the final guy I have to fight?
Aren't you in the wrong hell?
Or
like, how is this possible? He even says that.
I love that one part afterwards when they're in Helheim again, and you see young Kratos as he comes down with the blades on him.
Yeah, they're trying to escape Helheim at that point. They're on this boat.
Yeah,
that they're kind of having to float back up,
which they always do in a God of War game.
Yeah, they do.
You're always on a boat.
Kratos always descends into hell and has to escape hell. I'm like,
it's a little bit different with this, of course, but
because it's like, Helheim, not Hades.
I mean, well, like every time it's like, well, he died again. Guess I gotta climb out of hell again. This is more of like, I'm just going to hell. I'm just sightseeing.
Ooh, a handbasket.
Yeah. Oh, there's a Draugr.
Well, in hell, the second time you fight your boy Baldur again.
Old Baldur.
And that's when you kind of see the story evolved again. It shows
did you fight him or did you?
He was kind of stalking you, right?
Yeah, he was. You both crashed into there because he was trying to use the Bifrost to get to. Was it? He was trying to go to Asgard. That's what it was, because he was going to unleash the whole entire army onto Kratos, basically, and kill him then.
Remember, he kidnaps Atreus. You're flying on the thing.
And then, he puts the Bifrost key in and changes it to Helheim so they don't have a choice. and
remember, they go to the tree?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Have you guys found Baldur's Dragon, by the way?
No.
You should go find this dragon.
That's probably the third one I need.
No, it's not.
That's not.
No, it's not. But it's, I guarantee
Well, what's in Baldur? You can tell me anything at this point.
Oh, well, like you'll see it. Like I was just going around the lake one day and I look over on the side of the mountain. I'm like, oh, there's Baldur's dragon.
The dragon that's dead laying there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go up to it. You'll get some gear.
Yeah?
Yeah. Trust me.
I like gear. Well, I believe you because we let off this spoiler cast with me saying Thor all excitedly.
Right.
If you go to sleep after you beat the game, as fast as you can. If you're listening to this spoiler cast and you're like, I already beat the game, but you haven't gone to your house to go to sleep yet,
go do it.
Go to sleep.
Because we're going to tell you Thor.
We're just going to say freaking Thor.
Chris Hemsworth in all his glory.
No.
I think
doesn't look anything like that one, John.
What I liked about this was also the way they've approached the gods, where, it's really just focused on one particular god in this one. And then, there's two other gods, the two sons of Thor in the game. And that's it. Like, it's kind of doing a good thing, kind of like how the original God of War was, where you're leaving the majority of the meat still on the table for future things. But where I give it a lot of credit is, even though a majority of gods are not in this game, especially with things like Odin, Thor, and then also Baldur when he's not around, like you're consistently feeling their presence.
Yeah.
You feel like you are really in their world and you don't belong here. And they know you don't belong here, and you're just trying to get by and do this one thing so you can get the heck out of Dodge.
I remember leading up to this game, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel on this mythology versus the Greek mythology.
Sure.
I wasn't sure how could Kratos have gotten to where he got to. How did it make sense? How did it feel? It felt great. Like you said, we know Odin's the big bad guy that we eventually might have to fight.
Sure.
They left that on the table. You know how evil and cunning and really paranoid Odin is. He does a bunch of these things because he's strictly...
Yeah, he's trying to prevent his own demise, basically.
Yeah, he's trying to self-preserve, if you will. Mm-hmm. And along the mission, you mess around and kill Thor's two sons.
Yeah.
So...
and I like it because, again, it teaches another lesson to old Atreus, because, that's kind of the point when... After he's become a god, he's just like, he's beginning to turn into the, like, I have power and I'm a dick, you know?
You see the turning point, like you said. He starts off as a bubbly kid. He's wanting to learn. Kratos goes into the light, like we talked about, and then he kind of gets mad at you. But you see him grow after you explain to him that he's a god, right? You end up having to tell him he's a god. And I think that turning point, I didn't like him for a little while.
Yeah, there's like a point where I think it comes to a head really first when, with what's his name, Sindri. Like where he basically just tells them
out.
Yeah, he tells them,
tired of hearing your bull crap.
You're not a god. You're no one. And it's like, this dude made Thor's hammer, and he's just been told he's no one. And like, to the point where he's defying his father, to the point where he kills a god because he just feels like it, which is what it's like. Kratos is quickly learning real quick. If I'm not careful in instilling the right things, this could go very bad long term.
What's cool is a lot of things, like you mentioned, John, I think, where they tie up a lot of loose ends that why did this arrow break, or why did you want these arrows taken away from me, or why did this happen? So when he betrays Kratos, not betrays him, but he doesn't listen to him, and Kratos is like, don't kill the guy he's beaten.
Sure.
They bring that back home at the very end of the game, which was very cool. It's you harken back to it, and you see that Atreus did learn that lesson.
Sure.
Because while he was the one being told by Kratos, look, this guy's beaten, you don't have to kill him, he's done.
Yeah.
Atreus is dumb. He kills him anyway. Later on, Atreus has grown up, and Kratos has got Baldur to a point where, like, he's done.
Yeah.
And Atreus is like, Pops, you don't have to kill him. And Kratos is like, you know what? You're right.
And he tried. He tried so hard to give him a way out.
He did.
But, I mean, I like how still in the end he's like, look, we have to be better. We can't just keep doing the same thing where the kid kills the parent again and again just because they feel slighted. So I like how he's taking a stand. It'll be interesting to see. I'm very interested, like Thor standing outside. And I can understand why Thor might be pissed off at those two, seeing as they killed both his sons.
Theoretically,
I'm going to get you back in a few years.
What's the relationship
he's out there doing his thing?
Technically, between Thor's two sons that you just straight work?
Yeah.
I just straight work those guys, right? I'm putting the beat down on those guys.
Yeah, they were in challenge.
But are they like cousins or something? Because Thor's sons are...
Well, no, they're Thor's sons. This is the son. Baldur was the son of Odin and Freya.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I guess,
Thor is Odin's...
yeah, so I guess they would probably...
in a way be related. How does that work?
Do gods have cousins?
Are we cousins? That's my cousin, dog.
We got a thunder dog. Take down them giants.
But it is...
It's interesting to see where that could go. And I like how, again...
I'll tell you what, the internet is excited about it.
Yeah, because it's like you did this whole entire game. It was important because you did this game about growth, and it focused only on two people, really. Everything else is there, and it plays an importance as far as setting up a long-term story. But this is first and foremost, from start to finish, the story of Kratos and Atreus. And I think that's heightened by the fact that we don't really hear his wife Faye's name except for a couple times until the very end of the game.
The big reveal.
After the journey is at its end. And it's like, okay, now we can start to, now that we've gotten this setup of who these people are and where they are at this point, we can start to build off of it and say maybe the next game, I don't know, we'll start to explore what Faye did before Thor or before Kratos arrived, and maybe also some of the things that Kratos didn't know she did while she was with him.
Yeah.
And we can start to work towards that and what Thor has been doing and what Odin is actually like, and these other kingdom or realms, we haven't been to, they can come back into play.
Well, you can deduce at least a couple of things. Well, one specific thing based on some things that Atreus says, particularly at the end of the game. You tend to know in the world what ledges to interact with based on writing that's kind of there. It looks like some sort of ancient writing. It leaves a strong impression that Faye had this journey planned out all along of a way to get my son and my husband together and be closer. The deduction is that she went along this journey before they did, marking all those locations.
It's definitely possible.
He kind of drops that hint at the very end of the game. It's like something to the effect of, it's like she was always here. Look at that on the wall.
I didn't take it directly. I took it more just like, this is the proof of the Giants' foresight. And that's how I looked it up, kind of cheated when I figured that might be the case. And
they seem to think that.
Well, the director came out and kind of confirmed what I was thinking. Is like, this is a game about you get the determination that Faye had this kind of thing planned from the get-go.
Maybe that part, yeah.
When you walk in and they show the mural and they show the journey that you're on, she's dead, but the journey is already painted on a wall. You kind of go, wait a minute.
So the question now is, when you know that, what do you think about that last mural?
Right. Did you notice the last mural?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think that's him killing Kratos, saving Kratos?
I think it's Loki killing Kratos. The question is whether it's intentional or not, because he's in that position where he's holding Kratos, he's leaning back against Loki.
Yeah.
And you're like, the question
I like how
is,
we're calling him Loki.
Well, yeah. I mean, the question is whether it was unintentional because he is a trickster.
Yeah.
And he did something that he didn't mean to do. I mean, you got to think, look, you would know this more than I. The Marvel movies indicate that Loki is the adopted son of Odin.
No, that's kind of more of a cinematic. That's more of a Marvel thing.
But they are brothers. Thor and Loki in the mythology, they seem to be brothers.
And sometimes, yes, depending on which poems you're reading. There's so many different variations as far as what actually goes on. The big thing is just that he is a trickster. His big thing, and like I said, is kind of what just happened. He is the guy who killed Balder. And he has been known to do certain things like kidnap people and do all that in spite to just kind of mess up the whole entire realm. I think there's like a poem out there where he tricks Thor into thinking he's just in this party with giants, right? And makes it appear that way. And they give him these challenges where it's like, okay, just pick up this cup and drink from it. And it's like Thor can't do it. Like he struggles to do it. And then like, it's like, pick up this baby. And it's like, again, he struggles to do it. And then the next day, Thor or Loki reveals to him that like these were actually not what they seemed, where it was like, drink this cup. It was drink the whole entire ocean of Midgard was what he was doing, and he almost did it. And when he said, pick up this baby, it was the world serpent. And he had pretty much almost lifted the thing, almost got it off the ground before it happened. So it's like, it's things like that's like the more stories.
He's a trickster.
That go on. But yeah, he's a trickster. He makes you think, and he's not a huge fan of Thor just because of Thor is the other thing. Thor is just might and killing things for the sake of doing it because he just wants to, which is, like the stuff with the giants and all that. That's very much true to its mythology.
Other than Kratos and Atreus, I think two of the best characters in the game were the dwarves.
Brock?
Yeah. Brock and Sindri. They added a lot of relief at certain times that you needed it. And if you wanted to, you could listen to more lore and talk from them too, which was cool. Yeah. And that was there was a bunch of little relationships that were having problems. They were separated brothers.
Problems?
Yeah.
Remember that song?
Yeah. I got some problems.
Yeah.
You're really good at that.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Champ.
Freya and old Baltimore dear.
Old Baltimore. They have a problem. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So,
to be perfectly honest, I have to make an admission. I don't remember what Balder's problem with her was.
Because she was the one who enchanted her, or enchanted him to make
so
him
he couldn't feel.
So basically, he's like, I've gone through the last 200 years not being able to feel a single thing in this world, and therefore he felt no connection to it, and it drove him mad.
Melodramatic kids.
But at the same time, she said she did because she never wanted him to be harmed, because she had a foreshadow that he would die young or something like that, or would die before her.
Yeah.
So that was the setup.
I didn't like how she was. I get it. I'm a parent, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't know if I'm just going to let my kid choke me out.
Yeah.
But there's so many parents out there who do that. Like
you said doo-doo.
No, like today, like they just smother them and they're afraid to, like let their kid go outside. And yes, he may ride his bike and fall off and break a leg. It's a possibility. But guess what? He'll learn from that. He'll learn there's a possibility you may get hurt in this world.
He might put his hands around my throat and choke me
if I don't.
But at least he learns from the experience.
What do you, just hypothetically, what do you think he would have felt if he would have killed her?
If he had felt, probably relief. And like felt that the one person who robbed the most from him, which is basically what he told her, was gone.
Do you think
kind of how Kratos was too with Zeus?
I don't think it's a question, but she made a promise because, as she's getting choked out, Kratos saves her.
Yeah.
Kills him instead. And then she makes this promise like, I'm coming after you with everything I got.
Yeah.
And she kind of goes away
and
at
that
that point.
Believe it. Yeah. The best part is if you travel back to the Witch's Cavern, they're like, you sure we should be here right now?
But the thing is, these Norse gods.
Oh.
or they have no concept of time because I'm going to get my revenge in a few years.
Sure.
It's like,
well, I mean,
what is this? I'm not going to do this right now.
Yeah, they attack.
But I'm going to get you.
Yeah, they are thinking. They're constantly, and plus they know kind of what their history is.
He's making stuff up about Norse gods. He doesn't.
No,
know.
I mean like the timeline.
Let's call it for the convenience of the story.
Sure. And even then, like that was just that was a dream. That was foreshadowing. Is what they were.
That's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when it will happen, but they know it's coming, which is cool because then it kind of shows Atreus now has the foresight of his giant.
Yeah, they hint at that, and then they actually show it.
Yeah,
like. And you really believe that that's happening right now.
Yeah, you're like, okay, yeah, he's definitely
And then after John said it perfectly, we typed in, and I was excited. I was instant messaging you guys, and I said, Thor! And John said, followed immediately by the longest credits in history.
Well, yeah. Mm-hmm. They did work on the thing.
I did the dishes. I vacuumed the house.
Dude, the longest credits.
For sure.
Now, there have been games where I've gotten a trophy from watching the credits as like a thanks.
Really?
Nope.
I should have got a trophy for these.
Yeah.
There was about 40.
You can skip it.
I wanted to see if there was a trophy, and it kept, the longest credits ever.
I had already looked at what the list was at that point. Because once I beat the story, I was like, okay, what am I missing? Which I am down to two trophies. That's all I've got left.
Where are the other day?
I've got like 3 or 4 artifacts left, and I've got like 8 ravens, and then I'm done.
That's pretty good. And what that is really cool about is
there's a lot to do.
It sets you up to there's still a lot to do after the main fight.
Yeah, but I'm weird about that kind of stuff. It's like when there's nothing else at stake, it's really hard to care about getting more stuff. Which I think is kind of a detriment to the I don't think the game is as balanced as it could be.
What do you mean by that?
If you're not really exploring, and if you explore, but if you're not really exploring and not really paying close attention to what's going on with the Bifrost, those different areas you can go to, you're going to find yourself at a stopgap about how high your armor can go. I mean, there is just no more you can do. So I keep going up to Brock and Sindri, and I'm like looking around, I'm like, yeah, I can't do anything. Mm-hmm. And it was like that for the last many hours of the game because I'd gotten the dwarf armor, and that's kind of from what I've discovered.
It's like mid-tier.
It's like a mid-tier.
But that mid-tier gets you through the game.
Yeah, you could easily take that.
And you're pretty BA.
Yeah.
But also it's like, I know the desire to make God of War significantly different than their predecessors, but if you consider the fact, it kind of breaks realism. It occurred to me like, I've got all this armor. I've got all these new weapons, and I'm incredibly weak without it. Mm-hmm. But without armor, I took on the entire god roster of Mount Olympus.
Sure.
And destroyed all of them.
Different realm.
And I didn't have...
different realm.
We can kind of build excuses around it, I get it. But it's
not
like...
Excuse.
I don't see it. I mean, you have to have balance.
It's a nice system. It's a little bit more complicated than what I'm used to. I know that, I'm dumb. But
well, look, you love the fact when Assassin's Creed went now to these different places. We went to, was it England, London, whatever it was in one. You were in Egypt in one. You were in Italy in one. You love that. Now that Kratos is finally getting his chance to maybe venture on to different mythology and see how that is, I think it's brilliant.
The mythology I'm down with.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
the mechanics.
He's a different. It's like he's in Norse realm and he's not as powerful.
Yeah, but it's kind of still
doesn't
doing
make
the
sense
same.
To you though, kind of.
It's kind of what they've always done.
You kind of have to
poor writing.
We'll see. To me,
you kind of have to logic away that, and it still works. It's not a. It's a minor complaint, but it's just like
it's a 9. That's why it's a 9, Chris.
I just was like,
I kind of viewed it as like they just took a system that had always been there, whereas before it'd always been about orbs, and then things just naturally get more powerful with those orbs over time. You went away from that and you kind of instead developed something that's more sensible for today. Because if this game had just been an open world where all you do is you go and you open up chests and get orbs and every now and then you unlock some new abilities, I don't think it would be something that people would have been fine with. Whereas here, I like the way it was presented as far as going on these quests, because like exploring the world, as you said, was really beneficial because, and he even says like the idea is that you're exploring to get better gear for the quest itself, that you're consistently trying to be able to go further. So I just kind of liked it. I mean, I will say my biggest complaint would probably be that I think to someone like yourself or like we have friend of the show, Darren, who is not familiar with these kind of games. Like I've tried to explain the equipment stuff to them.
Yeah,
and
you
like,
gave me an explanation that made absolutely
and it's
no
like
sense.
really hard. Yeah, it's really hard.
Said, from what I deduced, you said if you want to compare armor, you strip each armor.
You have to strip it.
And I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. It, like basically I figured out halfway through.
Because some of it's got sockets in it.
Exactly. If you don't take the sockets out, apparently someone didn't think that they should show you gear without sockets.
Yeah.
And like most games you can do that. Like when I'm looking at
just
WoW,
the base,
I can compare.
Thing.
Yeah, I can compare the base and then I can socket things afterwards.
Yeah, you can.
Socket to me.
Base
with this,
and sockets.
Because there was a number of times I never upgraded my equipment because when I would compare it,
it would show
to
like
the
negative.
new thing. Yeah, I would be like, oh, that's going to lower my stuff. And I wasn't ever comprehending that my sockets were coming into play. Once I started doing that, the only question was, how many sockets does this piece of gear have? Because when I saw, oh, this is a level 5 piece of gear versus level 4, I knew once I added, I would be way more powerful.
But then some of them would only say it's one socket.
Until you upgrade.
Then if you upgraded, you could get 2 and 3 sockets, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What's your, I don't know. It's like you take on the Valkyries to get the most powerful armor.
Correct.
In theory.
That's part of it.
Wait, that's the first time you said Valkyrie.
But the time you take down the Valkyries, what's left? It's
Muspelheim
like, why do I have this armor that is so BA that I can't use in the game because it no longer matters?
Well, people like that because they eventually, no pun intended, you want to feel like a god.
Yes.
Towards the end of the game when you're doing things that don't matter anymore. You don't want it to be hard. You're on a mission now to go get this trophy, beat all these Valkyries, do this. So you want to kind of be able to go through it pretty much.
It's like the hardest challenge.
The only reason I finished the game was for the Spoilercast.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that wants to go do the Valkyrie missions before I continue with the rest of the story because I want to complete everything so that the ending matters.
Well, see, what you're talking about, like all those Valkyries are not created equal. Some are much like, for instance, the one that is by the big ice giant, which is like the first one you could go do because that's when you finally get the thing. Yeah, the pick. That is intentionally the easiest one.
And that thing kicked my butt.
Yeah, it's there to get you certain pieces of crafting gear you could not get before.
Your boy said, I'm out.
Yeah.
What thing? Oh, the mid-tier Valkyrie or whatever?
Yeah, the first one that's by the ice giant.
Where you get your chisel for the first time, you can immediately go into a...
As soon as you come out and you're leaving,
John
you're
doesn't know what
back,
the chisel is.
There, the big tube that you do to hit on the mirror. You could go ahead and...
It is a chisel.
It kind of is a chisel.
The mission was called Get the Chisel.
Literally.
Get the chisel.
You can go and do that first one. And that's a lot easier than, like, say, the ones you do in Niflheim where you're on a clock because you can die. And 2, the one in Muspelheim, which is probably the second most powerful in the game and takes a lot of work to get to. Or 3, the Valkyrie Queen, who's the final one in the game. Like, by the time you get to that, you go in there, try to do it without upgrading that gear first, which requires you to go on these other loops, mainly in Muspelheim and Niflheim, to get more to get more resources in order to upgrade, which keeps you playing. So it is well designed where you could, and I thought about doing it, but I was drunk and Mike was saying I couldn't do it, so I went and I did it. Like where you could make her the last thing you do. And sure, that might be when you finally get to level 8, but that's your reward in a way. And I'll say my reward now is that when I go around that world and I'm trying to get all the artifacts and I'm trying to get everything else, nothing messes with me, John.
Of course not.
I am a god.
I know that. But it's just like some people are just like that. You have conquered the game. Mm-hmm. Nothing's at stake anymore.
Well,
exactly.
I do agree with you.
It's kind of like Zelda with a motorcycle.
When we decided that we were going to do a spoiler cast, I kind of, and you did too, our mindset went to, well, I'm not going to explore as much as I normally do.
There's some times where I was like, I got to move on. I got to do this story. I ain't got time for this.
There was
and
a
in a
part
way that
Friday.
sucked, but
it sucked.
There was a part Friday, like when you guys told me where you were, I'm like, they better dial the FN on this main story because it ain't short. And I was like,
But it kind of is.
in a way,
it can be, yeah. Like once you start, and
really.
I guess that's what I didn't think about was that I took my time because I was exploring everything, and I unlike you guys, I have no life, so I just came home from work and stayed up till 1 and then got up.
Oh, there were several nights, dude,
and came home and stayed up till
I looked
1.
at the clock and it was 2:30 in the morning, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. So, it was very natural for me to explore everything and take my time. Like, I didn't flip the temple for forever because I wanted to go out there and try to do more Valkyries first before I did that.
Time? Or
The temple, Tears
of
temple?
time?
The other minor, very minor complaint is the mid-level boss is always the big guy with the rock on his shoulder. It's
the troll?
It's like, there's no variety in the mid-level
Oh, but there
boss.
was, because some of them would come out and be frost.
Yeah.
So you would counter with the
Some would be fire.
blades. Yeah. And
No, they're different because this one's fiery and the other one's icy.
exactly.
But they're the same.
What did you find?
They have the same attack mode. They have the same. It's the exact same way to beat them. There's no variation of how they attack, how they move, anything except for
take
the
the Travelers.
type of damage. I'm not talking about the Travelers.
Yeah.
Those aren't mid-level bosses.
To me, they were.
They're,
hardest-
They're powerful enemies.
The hardest mob for me in the game.
Witches?
No.
They're
The things that have wings and they got those big, like,
the elves.
Oh, the elves,
The dark
yeah.
elves.
the dark elves that can, when they hit the ground, it turns black.
Yeah, that thing is a pain.
Oh.
The
There's
pains
one
for
point-
me are the witches.
The
I
witches-
hated those
you gotta
things.
The
shoot 'em.
witches of the regular enemies are probably the biggest pain because that's why you have to shoot them. And if you run out of arrows and you haven't stunned them enough, it's just like, well,
Bro,
now I got to run around. And
The biggest way to get them is level
Atreus up.
all the way up, and they just start going.
Right now, Atreus, for the most part, creates my tiny circle around the enemy, and I just go
Your
finish
R3?
him off.
Yeah.
He becomes
Yeah, the
BA when you power
What?
him.
All right, so that's my hardest, like, just individual mob. What do you think your hardest fight in the game was?
Valkyrie Queen. There's no question about it.
The Valkyrie. Well, we haven't got there yet.
Yeah.
I'm talking about main story. Was any main fight really hard for you,
No.
Main fights that were hard for me.
or the one that stands out?
As far as fights that stand out in the game, the dragon was the one that stood out the most as far as the main quest was concerned. But
Oh,
as far
cool.
as far as bosses or like I would say none of them were exceptionally hard.
You know,
Yeah, I agree.
the most annoying one was the elf king. At
Yes.
the end. That one was because once
one
he
you just-
if he blew if he if he threw those shock arrows at you and they exploded, the entire room would turn to fog.
Yeah.
Are you talking about when towards the end of the game?
Yeah, no. When you go to the elf world,
yeah, he was-
and you're trying to escape the elf world
That
before
was a
you
hard
get
fight?
on the that one to me gave me the most problems.
Well, who were the two dark elves when they just showed that every mob you had fought at that point, they just started coming in that room,
Yeah. I know you're talking
and
about.
eventually the two elves were flying around at you?
I think that's what he's talking about.
No, he was talking about when you're in the elf world and you're leaving, that one elf comes at you.
Grabs
And
you
it's
from
just
behind.
it's just you.
Oh,
and
you're
him.
talking about
You go to a thing that
He's
the
like
game
an elf king.
the game tells you to go push the button because you're about to open the door.
Yeah.
When you open that door, the thing comes out and jumps on you. That's what you're talking about.
It's a boss fight.
What I'm talking about is later is you're like in a room that's like going up, and it'll stop,
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
and then all the different waves of things come in.
Yeah, that was a hard fight.
That was tough.
That was hard. The other thing that pissed me off probably the most as far as fighting was just doing the muscle line trials, because there's a couple where like there's one where you can't get hit and you got to kill 20 enemies, and that sounds easy, and for the most part it is until you get down to about 12, and all of a sudden like 4 nightmares and 3 of
You
those,
got to be on your
3 of
parry,
those
dodge.
3 of those
God
joggers
game.
that just like all they do is grab their chest and chuck ice.
those are on there?
Yeah, and when you get that, it's not that you aren't aware of things. It's that you're avoiding the nightmares blast at you, that you don't see you're rolling into the fire blast coming from the other side of the map.
I don't know if I want to platinum this game anymore.
It took me a couple of tries.
What was your toughest puzzle? Was there any point that you got a
No, that
puzzle?
one's really hard
Those
for
were
me.
pretty easy for me too.
Yeah. There's like a couple as far as you're like, I see there's an angle that I need to hit this at. I just need to because I remember your hard one was remember we were on that one night with them and you couldn't get the one with the 3 bells.
Oh, that was frustrating. Yeah, because I didn't know where to stand.
That one did take me a little bit.
Those chests that would have like CRN on them,
the rune chest, the runic.
They
chest.
were. Some of them could be very tricky, and that one was tough because I thought I knew the mechanic. I just didn't do it. I wasn't doing it right. I wasn't quite in the right spot. There was in Tyr's Temple. That runic chest is pretty hard to get. Eventually there's a letter on the things that are going up and down.
I didn't have a problem with it.
I just could not find one of them.
Now there are ones in Niflheim that will appear in the start of the maze every now and then, and you have to memorize what it is, and you're going through this whole entire maze, and at some point there's going to be a thing you need to hit to get to the right symbol. That can be infuriating because when you've been in a bunch of little mob fights, you're like, wait a minute, is the F this way or backwards down F? Is the triangle up or down? Is the E going this way?
I was taking pictures with my
I challenged myself. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. But
hey, in the mountain there's one chest and it's not lit up. I don't know how to go light it up.
Maybe with
I know what you're talking about.
It's probably got used to change to find a ball of energy.
I couldn't find one. You talking about the one where you grab the green fire and then light up another torch?
I know how to do those, but there's one in the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
The door opens and a troll comes out. Is that the one? Yeah, I couldn't figure that one out either.
It's just the chest.
But that's only because
I did it.
I was at the last. I was like, I got to keep going.
I did it, but
I looked around, dog. I could not find them.
I couldn't either.
I saw the letters, right?
Yeah.
I saw a couple of letters that would work, but I didn't know how to turn the chest on, if you will. Maybe if I just rubbed it the right way, right?
But all in all, I mean, I think it's a best game of the year so far.
I want to hear everybody's comments on it. Flood us with stuff on Twitter, Facebook, emails. Right now, this is my game of the year for sure.
Yeah.
Like it's up there.
Like I said, there's only in my mind right now 2 games on my radar.
Celeste and this.
Well, no, I love Celeste, and Celeste is, if you want to say, Celeste is the best platformer I've played this year. It's probably going to be the best, like the one I would give a lot of achievement to because I'm like, wow, a team of like 12 people made that game.
Yeah, I got
That's
you on
impressive. But as far as this, I think this is the best game still. I go to my record. It's the best game I've played since Witcher 3, and it's not even close. It's like no one else is.
I mean, so deep.
To me, this is the definitive. It happened earlier on with the previous generation, like with BioShock and things like that. This game is like, okay, this is the next generation. This to me. But that's only because
played Witcher 3.
Well, the kind of the HD gaming revolution
4K
makes everything. I mean, I would argue that the jump from PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4, 360 to Xbox One is not significant in the way that the previous generation was PS2, PS3. Because HD gaming created such
That's what he's saying. Yeah.
HD gaming created such a sheen and quality on games.
Yeah.
That the progression and the way games look might run faster, might technically look prettier, but they are just incremental jumps. So I think it took a lot longer for this generation of consoles to show us the pinnacle achievement of this generation, and I think it's God of War.
I think it's like
I agree, John.
It's like I agree with you in the sense of like visually, it's not the same, and I think that's why people don't see it as much. Like this generation, the jump has been more about accessibility, the underlining systems working, whereas like before, back in the day, PlayStation 3 had problems with online. Xbox definitely wasn't as reliable back then as it is now. And the things that they were doing on those systems were a lot more limited in scope of what they could pull off than what it is today. And it's like now you see what the promise of those systems are coming to fruition. And it's like, you couldn't do a game like Fortnite back on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. And now look what's happening. In less than a year, it's become easily the biggest thing in gaming.
Well, they can do Fortnite on mobile.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but still, that tells you how much the phones have also improved. Yeah. But like to where it feels like as good as the PC level, I guess is the best way to say it. So like, you just see how much of a increases happen this generation. But in terms of single player, yeah, I mean, like I said, there's only one other game I would put in the conversation from this generation as far as an effect as doing it. You know, like I know you guys were, a lot of people were like crazy about Zelda last year as far as its impact, and I appreciate it, but this was the one to me that more so called out because it was minimalistic in the sense that it didn't always tell you go here and do this, you know, let you just casually explore. There's not much of a fast travel system till very late in the game, but like,
which I found pretty annoying.
To me, it was.
I never saw.
I love that stuff.
I never saw it really explained very well. Like it's going to decide to give me fast travel when it's ready.
Exactly, and I was fine with that because it was like
most of the
get
time
in the boat and go explore, which is the same way of get on a horse and go.
We're all about you're all about giving the player options. Well, and if I use an example, I've told you like, well, you're not supposed to play it that way. I'm like, don't tell me how to play this game.
Sure,
I want this option.
It
did.
The
fact that it,
But you could fast travel back whenever you needed to.
Yeah.
To the one central place you need to be.
That's what I was going to say.
I mean, that's the thing.
All right. Fast travel is just something people expect now.
Sure.
And the fact that you hide it behind a brick wall until almost 30 to 40% of the game is left.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of gross.
I kind of like it because, like I said, it
Third complaint about the game, John.
Yeah, it encourages you to. I think it encourages you, much like Zelda, to its credit, to get out there and just explore. And that's the best part of this game is exploring the world.
Well, even the dialogue between the kid and you get on a boat and he'll go, hey, we can go ahead and go do this thing, or we could go find some stuff.
Yeah, he's like, you know, the choice is yours.
Yeah.
I'll go along because I'm just a kid and you're freaking Kratos.
One of the crazy things was I was asking other people who were playing this game, I'm like, hey, my fast travel is still locked. Am I not doing something right? And they're like, huh.
Yeah, I told you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because no one's using it. No one wants
part of that
to.
is because John was wanting all the doors to be open.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And we were doing it where if we did want to go to the middle to get back, we could just go to it. Always lets you go to that one.
Sure.
I know what Brock said.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know he said you can only come back here for now, but it took hours upon hours upon hours for that thing to open up. And I'm like, this serves no point.
It did, to me at least. Like I said, get in your boat and go.
Anything else you don't like about this game?
I mean, there isn't much that I didn't like about this game. Like, to me, and that's why I say, like, everyone was about this.
It just seems you guys are defending the silliness. I mean, I don't know. It's
because, like, for instance, imagine the first time.
You're not playing it right.
Imagine the first time.
John.
And this is the way I would view it. Like, imagine the first time, like, after the water dropped. Like, the second, like, when he shifted.
The water dropped?
When you had gone to Alfheim and come back, and then you spoke to the serpent, and the water shifted again, right? Imagine if you weren't getting in your boat and going around that lake. You miss all these dues that give you power-ups. You miss all these new locations you couldn't get to before because you're not concerned about that. You're concerned about getting to a point of convenience that you've already been to as quickly as possible. That's why I thought that was the reason why they did. They wanted to encourage you to say, like, this world is forever shifting based on this one huge freaking animal. And whenever that happens, you need to re-explore where you've been. And
but what happened to
the
value of allowing the player to experience as much or as little as they want to?
Well, that's there.
I don't see how you feel like that's gone.
Because you could just go straight on. You could just go, okay.
But I have to waste 10 to 20 minutes getting to a location that I'm trying to be at when I would just simply rather go there.
Sure. I
can't suggest that there's no, that's not a valid complaint.
I appreciate it.
Oh, no. If that's how you feel, it's just more of like,
I just felt like
it doesn't bother me.
The game left you off, like when it was time to fast travel again, it left you off at a point to where you could go to the one place that was open and really get to where you need to go rapidly.
Yes.
I don't feel like it left you hanging, way over here and you had to go way over there and there's nowhere in between.
Yeah. If you ever,
I just didn't feel that at all. And that could just be I don't know.
By the time when it was unlocked, it felt like I'd been everywhere in Midgard at least once. So when it gave me that option, finally, it was like, okay, look, we know you've already been over to the Valkyrie Council, or that you've already been to Thor's statue, or those little subsections that are in the game, or the top of the mountain. And it's like, you don't need to do that again unless you want to, or you're exploring for the sake of exploring. Now it's about getting the places you need to be. Everything before that was about discovering the world and going, okay, it's changing. It's worth my time to go around here. And I think that's why it's locked. It would be my argument to it.
Speaking of time.
Yeah, I know.
You got places to be.
I do.
We've spoiled our junks off.
20 out of 10. I'll say it.
Yeah, for sure. It's easily.
Until Red Dead comes out.
I mean, it's a 10 out of 10. I'm not gonna parse words. It's just like.
But you
said a 9 and you had complaints.
Yeah. You had 3 complaints.
At least 3 complaints.
You were over there going like, this isn't as good as Epona. This stupid boat.
I love the boat. The boat was awesome.
I know.
The boat was nice.
Which boat?
Best boat issue.
Multiple boats.
The flower boat was my favorite.
Flower boat definitely wins. So I'm sure if you've listened to this, you're already subscribed. But if you're not, make sure you subscribe.
You're like, who are these D's who just come out and spoil games?
Yeah. And talked about Avengers for 20 minutes. If you like us, you can subscribe to us on iTunes, wherever podcasts. And most weeks, except this one, you get an episode on Wednesday at midnight, not at like midnight the next day. If you want to follow us, you can follow us on either.
Oh my God, I'm dying.
You can follow us on our Twitter at Weekly Games Chat or Facebook at Weekly Games Chat. And if you want to write us your thoughts and opinions, tell John why he's wrong about fast travel in this game. Tell me why I'm right that this is a 20 out of 10.
Me too.
And Sean also, because, solidarity. Then you can write those thoughts into weeklygameschat@gmail.com.
If you wrote us this week, thank you. We're going to probably bunch stuff up for next week. Have an official good show, and we're thinking it might either be.
You're trying to say the show wasn't good?
Yeah, an official good show, not a spoiler cast.
Gotcha.
John might become Donkey Kong,
or maybe we'll go to a different plane of existence.
Yeah, or maybe we might do that,
or maybe we'll just talk about moments.
Virtual reality, John.
Yeah.
See why John's smart yet dumb at the same time.
Yep. Kind of like Kratos.
Well,
or, I mean,
our
Atreus.
Virtual reality, because
that would be easier.
Money's already spent.
That's true. We could do that.
And I still owe you for God of War.
Ooh.
What do you mean?
The 20?
You owe me money?
Nah.
You owe me money.
Break his leg, Sean. Break his leg.
Friday's already. Wait a minute. This is all coming back to me.
Celine Dion?
Yeah. All coming back. It's all coming back to me. Yeah.
I remember when you died on a motorcycle. Until next time, though.
I think that was mean.
That was in the video for that song.
I think that.
He died on a motorcycle?
And it's all coming back to me now. Celine Dion. Yeah.
God, the 90s.
Well, 2 things. Chris remembered the video, which scares me a little bit. The second part is I remember the video once Chris brings up the video, which scares me a little bit.
Look, there was a lot of VH1 on at 4 p.m.
That song was 6 minutes long.
Because it would be like some...
I don't remember that.
There was something I didn't care about. But anyways, until next time.
What episode is this?
This is episode 151, and that was John farting.
If you heard that, that is going to reek, and we have to go.
Yeah. So until next time.
No
Game on, Sean.
Game on, Chris.
Game on, John.
Oh, my God. Say it, John.
Game on, John. Game on.
Your mom's box.
Peace out, everybody. Gotta go.
Thug life.